The middle class is dead. If you're still breathing, you need to get rich or you're just gonna die poor. Yeah, that's some circus sounding music because we're in a damn circus. If you haven't heard, the middle class is a dwindling population, and while everybody thinks this is by government design, I think society had a pretty big hand to play in it. In this video, we're gonna talk about this new phenomenon, how I think the world is headed for some hybrid feudalist society, and what you can do to position yourself to climb out of the middle class before it implodes. Stay tuned. This is really gonna be the 30,000 foot view of my position. To really get into this topic, you need a few hours. You probably don't have that much time. God knows I don't. So let's see what we can do in about 15 minutes. Let's start by trying to define what the middle class is. This is a confusing proposition because it's one of those things that's constantly changing. On the surface, it seems simple enough. It's that area between being poor and being rich. In reality, it's so convoluted that we have to speak in generic terms and make all types of guesstimates. The amount you need to live a middle-class lifestyle in one area is not gonna be the same as it is in another place. But I live in Florida, so we're gonna use that kind of as our rubric. And Florida used to be a place with a pretty good value ratio, but now everybody moved here and it's like living in New York or LA. It sucks. In terms of symbols of a middle-class lifestyle, they'd include owning a decent house. We'll talk about that later. 2 cars, 2.5 kids that play sports, a dog. Well, a dog or some kind of pet, maybe a goldfish, I don't know. A pet, an animal that you take care of. You steward. A decent retirement account, and you can probably take like 2 vacations a year to like Disney World and some obscure destination in the Midwest. You probably pay your bills on time and probably listen to somebody like Dave Ramsey and have 6 months of emergency funds. You have a traditional 9 to 5, probably get 2 to 4 weeks vacation. You have health care, all that jazz. Now, a lot of people heard that and it sounded like the pinnacle of excess in America and that it's something reserved for the wealthy. And that's part of the problem. But how much would a family need to make that a reality? The average house price is $400,000 nationwide, but for your family of 4.5, you need approximately, let's say 2,500 square feet. So a quick search on Realtor, and we're looking at about $500,000 for a house price. Let's assume all things being equal, you're financing 100% of that cost, and that it's 2.5 times your annual combined income. So that means together you're bringing in $200,000 a year or $100,000 a year each. The average new car is $47,000, and you have 2 of those. Then you've got utilities, cell phones, kids, sports, savings, et cetera. You probably need to make $125,000 a year or $250,000 a year combined to live this middle-class lifestyle. I remember a time not too long ago when that kind of salary would earn you like a Porsche and a penthouse on the beach. According to Smart Asset, a middle-class household income is between $52,000 and $155,000.
Houseway.
First off, that is a huge gap. Second, that's household income. $52,000 for 2 people is like the low end of working at McDonald's. There is absolutely no way you could survive, much less thrive, making $26,000 a year without some kind of assistance. That's about $980 a paycheck or a little less than $2,000 a month. There's 2 of you, so a little less than $4,000 a month. Let's take a look at how that works in reality. Average rent for an apartment in Tampa is $2,000 a month. That's half of your income right there. Let's say another $800 a month for 2 cars, utilities and phone, maybe $250 a month. Insurance rates are insane, but let's say you're lucky and that's another $250 a month. Let's pretend you don't have kids and you cook all the time and you're the greatest bargain shopper coupon cutter ever. So another $200 a month for grocery. Right there, you only have $400 left a month, and we left off a ton of essentials. How is this middle class when you're struggling just to survive? How will you ever save for a house? How will you ever climb your way up the ladder of financial independence? And somebody asked Dave Ramsey how the hell you're gonna save 6 months of expenses. So at the root, the middle class is shrinking because today it costs more money to just exist.
Price went up. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
To live that middle class lifestyle now, you need to be well into the 6 figures.
Be certified.
So more and more people that a few years ago were high middle class and starting to scratch the ground floor of wealth now find themselves planted firmly in the middle of middle class. And the folks that were in the middle or below, well, they're hovering just above poverty. So what happened? Well, a lot of lies, some greed, free money, social media, and a loss of core values. Not as much on the loss of core values. I'm not one of those people. That didn't make any sense. We'll start with the lies, or I guess the half-truths that have been peddled for decades. I'm sure you've heard them all. You know, like, you need a college degree to get a good job. A college degree is the only way to success. Get a job, keep that same job, stay with that company until you retire. Buy a house. A house is an investment. Save, save, save. Get a 401k. Stop it. These were all half-truths, but somebody told the world they were all lies. So people stopped going to college, started leaving jobs and overvaluing their skills on the open market like they thought they were some kind of free agent, stopped buying houses or bought too many houses, started trying to view everything like they thought they were Warren Buffett instead of looking at the utility of an item. Think of the NFT stupidity at its peak in 2021. You get the picture? No pun intended. Economics is not a one-size-fits-all. College is a great idea for some people. Trade school is a great idea for other people. But too many people took that you don't need college advice and pointed out how Bill Gates and Steve Jobs dropped out of college, as if that made their decision to forego college any more logical. And that's how it works with half-truths. People want to ignore that wide gap of gray area. So you have that trend, then the 2007-2008 crash, which was like a bucket of cold water splashed in your face. And it showed us that our economy was not as robust as we thought. But more importantly, as an individual, if push comes to shove, the government is not gonna save you. Zoom in on that part. Not gonna save you. They'll save the corporation. So 401ks got wiped out, investing in retirement portfolios got wiped out, people got laid off in droves. And the idea that you could get a job at a major corporation, save up, max out your 401k, and you'd be okay in retirement was gone. The gig was up. You had MBAs getting jobs at Burger King, 70-year-olds coming out of retirement to get jobs, 40-year-olds moving back home with their parents, and banks practically giving houses away because nobody wanted to buy one or could afford them. But just as soon as those lessons were learned, we forgot them all again. Less focus on school, less focus on production, less investing not just in assets, but in people's career or their own personal growth. More focus on consumption, and social media just threw jet fuel onto everything. A decade passed of the economy bouncing up and down, the government trying to play matchmaker but making things so much worse. Then boom. The illness that won't be named. Shut everything down. Stay home. Be scared. Close your business. Close all the small businesses. Close schools. Let your parents teach you. You don't need to learn. But hey, here's $1,600. Oh, you got 5 kids? Well, here's 10,000. Don't you worry. The government is gonna take care of you. Get up under my wing, little chick. Here's my wing. Come on, get up under it. I won't hurt you. It's nice and warm under there. And suddenly people were behaving like we were stuck in some weird version of the Middle Ages. You see, when people are faced with death on a daily basis, they begin to look at life totally different. If you were struggling before 2019, as soon as the government stimulus hit your account, you were Mark Wahlberg at a roulette table, fresh off a line of coke.
All in black.
People were in panic. They'd been locked up in their house for 2 years, scared out of their minds, likely suffering from PTSD and some type of isolation syndrome. Jobs were begging people to come back to work. They were letting everybody work from home and paying people twice as much as they ever could have made a few years before. And for a brief period in time, it seemed like everyone had more money than they knew what to do with. And that's when all of our consumption problems came rushing to the front. But what was happening in the background? While the government cut the small business economy off at the knees, corporations that pivoted began to thrive. People that had money, that had investments and weren't terrified, invested more. Just like in 2008, when all these wannabe real estate investors were getting their houses foreclosed, a quiet wave of wealthy folk bought them all for pennies on the dollar. They bought the securities that people were getting rid of. They bought the houses that people didn't want. They bought America. The middle class didn't vanish. It was purchased, ripped apart, and sold back as pieces, like Richard Gere and Pretty Woman. This was the giant wealth transfer you keep hearing about. This is why the top 1%'s net worth grew astronomically, and the middle class started to fade to wherever Mike Tyson goes to play with his pigeons.
You fade into oblivion.
See, what people don't understand is that when things get bad, that's when real money starts buying stuff. So your life is in shambles. You sell everything because you have to survive. And the big money is eager to buy it at a fraction of what it cost you. And then when times get good again, they'll sell it back. Or what they're doing now is loaning or renting it back to you. And you'll buy it unless you see the writing on the wall and start making changes. One of the biggest powers the middle class has always had was their dollar, their purchasing power. And now that's just been given away. Consumers want to purchase everything like right now as we try to just outdo each other. There's no reason for producers to compete for our dollars because all they have to do is tell us that people want it and then we're going to want it too. They make less now, charge more, and produce it at a lower quality. And that's practically everything. The spiral of buy has pushed cost into the stratosphere. And social media is like nitrous oxide. People get online, tell you how they make $100,000 a month, take a picture next to some fancy car or a nice house, and suddenly everyone needs that thing that they have. You see it every day. There's thousands of people running around with Gucci belts, Balenciaga slippers, a Louis Vuitton satchel. They're wearing more money than they have in their bank account. And that's why I say we're headed back to feudalism. People aren't gonna own anything. You get to rent it. You're borrowing a lifestyle. It's a pyramid scheme that you never asked to join. And I'm not talking about houses because honestly, the majority of people that buy a house never own that either. A mortgage is just renting with a fancy name and more liability. But that's a discussion for a different day. Look at what our society has become. Before, if a song played and you really liked it and you liked the artist, what did you do? You bought the album. What do you do now? You get it on Apple Music, which is basically renting the song. Same with movies. When was the last time you bought a DVD or a Blu-ray? Car prices have gone up so much that people are taking out 8-year loans just to afford them, and the quality has gone down. At year 5, you need a new car, so you practically never own the one that you had. Cell phones are like $1,200. They used to be like $300. So you pay AT&T monthly, and as soon as a new one comes out, the battery on your old phone sucks and they no longer support the iOS, so you need a new one of those too. It's all about pretending, renting, and watching. What does the average American own outright anymore? And part of it is this fascination society has with watching people that have money or pretend to have money. This is now the age of watching wealth. You either have fake millionaires posting nonsense and selling courses online, or people watching all these reality shows of people in their fabulous lives. So the majority don't focus on building wealth. They focus on getting the next new thing, just so they can say they have it and make an Instagram post about it. And the worst thing is, instead of acknowledging how the government has manipulated the economy and taking a look in the mirror, everyone now has taken to blaming billionaires. Don't get me wrong, a lot of billionaires suck, but who the hell do you think was selling them the middle class while the government was offering you a rotten carrot? Here's a hint. They have 2 thumbs and probably have a really confused look on their face right now. Yes, they were greedy. Yes, they sold out America. Yes, they ran inflation into the sky. You are they. But here's the bigger problem. Even if you believe this, even if you see the error in your ways, you alone can't do a thing. The ship's too big to turn. People are so entrenched in these beliefs of blaming somebody else that they will fight tooth and nail against their own self-interest. So Rashad, you're so smart. What can we do? This is the part where if I had a pipe and a smoker's jacket, I'd put it on and wax prophetically about my leather-bound books. But I don't have a pipe or a smoker's jacket, and I don't have any leather-bound books. But I do have a few answers. Number 1, you have to accept reality. And I get mad when people say this because duh, but it is what it is. This is the game. But now you know you're in a game. You can either choose to be willfully ignorant, or you can play this game like Jigsaw just rode in on that creepy tricycle and there's no second place. Warren Buffett gets credited with this quote, and it goes something like this: if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And those might be the truest words ever spoken. Your job needs to make money, but your money needs to make money. And the goal doesn't have to be private jets and moon Lambos. If you have a career that you absolutely love, you get to spend time with your family, don't have all these financial burdens looming overhead, and can take a trip to your version of Disney World twice a year, then you're living the American dream. Life is a game and there are levels to it. So why try to compete at a level that you're not at? How about you crush the level that you're in? Stop listening to these people telling you that you need $1 million in savings. You need to start a business. You need to 10x everything. That life isn't for everybody. Find ways to maximize your skill set to provide security for you and your family. It's that simple. Now, in the next few videos, we'll dig deeper into this topic. But until then, have a fabulous week, and I will see everybody later.